Is Advaita open discussion. So I will pass the mic over to Artemisia to start the room. Artemisia, over to you.
Yeah, I just thought before more people arrive, and I'm sure that they have things that they'd like to discuss, I wanted to go back to the Tuesday class, which I attended, and this won't surprise you, Bindo, because you and I have talked about things related to this before. But I wanted to share a particular thought that I think is really important in my view. You were talking about, I think the word you used was that the person becomes a pramana herself, or a living pramana, and you spoke about that briefly and moved on. But that's what I think is really important. And I observed a couple things in different houses this week that also made me want to share what's on my mind with that. And I'll go on at a little length, but then that'll be what I have. So I hope people um, allow me that time. So we have people from the past, and we have texts, whether they were written or they were in an oral tradition from the past, and they can be of a great inspiration to us now in the present. And a lot of the energy and the realization of those people comes through that. But I think that there's just this pervasive, almost unavoidable, no blame at all, but unavoidable uh, pattern where we try in some way to mimic that self knowledge, or even to try to mimic the path that will help us on our self exploration. Teachers tend to think that the way that they came to their realization is maybe the way other people most easily can, and yet there are a million ways this has happened over time. And you've agreed with what I'm going to say next, I believe, which is that when we get to the point of nididhyasana, it's really ours. There's no way to explain how that deepest level of integration and recognition happens. And my part of my point is that I think the same is true of our expression. Our meaning humanity, any person, not any person. This idea of if we are the pramana ourself, that expression is ours. And I wanted to remind, because this is part of what I was thinking of while you were speaking, was you had mentioned once, probably a couple years ago, how we can read the words of somebody, but if we can hear the teacher speaking, like even on a recording, that the way that they, I think you said, modulate their voice, the way they modulate their voice, we can hear even more of what it is that they're really intending. And so, in my view, even better as a living teacher, where we're hearing that voice live, that it's part of their expression. So part of my point is that the people from the past are expression and inspiration, but they're gone. The only people that are left are the people who are here living right now. And if that realization can't be part of the present reality, if we don't believe that it really can, and we idealize the past and we idealize the present that we think someone or ourselves may get to, then this whole enterprise of self-knowledge, in my view, is really nothing if we don't recognize the present. And this kind of brings me to my point of the living expression. That I think we have to recognize that however we can express ourselves is our expression. And there'll be a tendency to think that it's inadequate. Maybe we aren't charismatic, we being whoever that person is who wants to express, or our realization isn't deep enough, or it doesn't match up to the texts of the past. And the point that's really been on my mind and came when you were speaking also, and I've seen it in various places this week, is I think we need to be very careful about AI. It's trained on such an unfathomable amount of human data, including certain beautiful, skilled writers and speakers from the past, that it really gives extraordinary text sometimes and extraordinary phrases where we can say, oh my God, like I've had this happen to me when I've pulled up AI. That is incredible and beautiful. And yet, for me anyway, and I think for some people who are sensitive to AI, it's very obvious when it's AI, and there could be a hollowness. And yet, we can't stop comparing ourselves to it. I mean, this is why, even though it's not allowed, people are using AI for their college admission essays. Uh, Publishers now require people to disclose if they've used AI, but of course, people don't always do it. They think, oh, well, it was just a little, I was just looking at this or that. And while it's an incredible learning tool, I mean, I'm blown away by what I'm learning from AI right now. I think we need to be, in this case, again, really careful, not only in its expression of things and our use of those, but also in one room I was using, listening to, sorry, it made me realize that people are using this as a measure of truth. Well, AI says that the scripture means this or that. Whereas, and I'll end here in a moment, my experience in looking at AI with translations and scriptures and things is it tries to catch on to what the person who's asking what their philosophy is. It'll even bias translations towards certain philosophies for sure, as it catches on to the orientation of the person who's asking. So I just think we need to be really true. And I just wanted to really express this. I know I've gone on a bit, but I haven't talked in a long time. What you were saying about being the pramana ourself. And I know people, oh, I'm not realized yet, and so forth and so on. I think even people who feel quite realized uh, may undervalue just the whatever expression it is, even if their language skills are terrible, which isn't the case for any of us. It'll come through if we're just true to it um, and believe that this realization and self-knowledge that we're talking about, we have to really get it. I'm sorry to hammer on this, especially in your house, Bindo, not in my own, but we have to really hammer on the fact that we have to believe this is a living possibility in the present, or we'll always be idealizing the past and the future, and we'll totally miss the point that we're just trying to recognize something that's ever present. That's really what we're trying to do. We can't say, yes, that's what we're trying to do, and then go back to this idea of just learning and mimicking. So, with all due respect and a lot of gratitude to you, Bindo, because you've really changed my life. Um, you really changed my life, and you've done it uh, in your presence and in your the really authentic discussions we've had. As much as I know, you value the Upanishads and you value my exposure to it. It's been just knowing you, and so. Hari Om, and I just really wanted to say that I was grateful you touched on that topic.
Thank you, Artemisia. You touched my heart. To say that I was instrumental for what you have gained in our interaction itself is a pramana for me that I am sticking to what I have experienced, studied, and expressed. So, thank you for reaffirming that to me. And I always have the word which is to be used exactly that I've always considered you to be, part of me in the journey together for the spiritual path which we are traveling. And we had long discussions, unlike many of us here, while your work on the book was going on. So that gave me much more opportunity to know you deeper and what exactly you are, expressing is from which level you are expressing. Thank you again once more. I appreciate what you said. Now coming to the living pramana part of it, I didn't stress much time and explanation on that. Is that the means of knowledge. Pramana means the means of knowledge, and the means of knowledge is not just text or words or what do you call the expressions of a person or a book like Upanishad or Gita. It is the way in which the, the individual lives and without getting affected by the what empirical world is throwing at him, how he is anchored himself in his own being. That aspect has got a flavor, a what you call fragrance, which will be which will be known by people who come in contact, and that is what is the pramana. That fragrance which is being noticed by the others becomes a means of knowledge for others. From his point of view, he is not doing anything special because he has realized or he has known what is to be known from the reality point of view. So for him, there is no difference. He sees all the reality in the same way. But with the others, for them, it will make a sense, and that is what it is. The same thing what Bhagavad Gita on the Tuesday's class was mentioning, that such a person living in the society, by demonstrating his life, he sends out the fragrance of a person of Sthita Prajna. And that is the fragrance which others make him as an example for emulation or following or as an example and learn as a pramana from him. So that is what is the verse Gita was conveying to us. And he should be, if he doesn't do that because he want to be in a sannyasa mode or seclusion and things like that, he is giving people who are into karma yoga and who should be practicing yoga as a what you call devotion to the higher pedestal. They may not get an opportunity to know how to do that. So this is the reason why Krishna is saying that, like Janaka, who was a person who realized yet continued his lively responsibilities as a king, Arjuna, you also should follow the path of Karma Yoga and demonstrate that what is the method in which a ideal king should live in this world. So that was the reference to the verse which was talked about on the Tuesday's class. Thank you, Artemisia, once again.
Thank you, Bindo. Hariom.
Namaste, Srini. The floor is yours.
Namaste, Namaste, Binduji. Yeah, I think one thing I realized is as the week developed, I think, yeah, most of the questions, I have a feeling anyway next week and all my questions, but anyway, I'll go ahead and ask some of these questions, Binduji. So let me
Go
know
ahead.
if something, yeah. So I think it started from like duty and action kind of thing. But anyway, even before that, I have one question. Like the performance of action in the world, right? It happens in a couple of ways. Like if you look in the modern world, either the action is performed like with a set of principles and processes. So we don't compromise on those principles and processes, but we perform action within those boundaries, and then we get the results. Like even in like if even if we take the example of sports and all, we keep hearing that There are some teams who have a way they play and they will stick to that, not and results will come within those boundaries. Whereas there is other way of performing actions where okay, it's not really about process or principles, but it's you at the end of the day, did you win or did you get the result or not, that matters. Like even in my own life I can say that sometimes my actions will be like within certain principles and where I'm comfortable, whereas sometimes I'm not even sure what is that field, and I just do something and yeah, hope for the best kind of thing. So and I think karma yoga will apply only for the first kind of action which is happening under a set of processes and boundaries, and does not apply for the second kind of action where we just yeah, without much anything, we either speculate or gamble or those kind of things. So do you think that is a correct way of looking at it?
No, that absolutely not. In fact, all karmas have to be done in the form of a karma yoga. That is why Krishna says that in the eating, breathing, sleeping, all those things he is including it. All of them, Kurusha Madarpanam. He dedicate that unto me. When he says that, that is the method in which he is talking about. He's not talking only about, what are that what you call the boundary, within the boundary type of actions alone. Every action. That is then only the individuality ego will diminish over a period, because you are no more identifying your ego to be a part of the activity. Then you will become a non-doer. The doership will reduce. And as the doership reduces, you are moving closer to your own self. This is the process of Karma Yoga. How does it, Chitta Shuddhi is coming? The more your individuality or ego gets nullified and reduced, sublimated by actions of dedication, that is the time when you will be having more and more Chitta Shuddhi. That, you will not be more driven by your instincts and latent impressions and what we call it as vasanas. That those things will have less control on you, because you are dedicating to the higher goal. And when you are doing that, your individual feeling that I am the doer, that also will get nullified or reduced to a larger extent. As much as your impressions are reducing, latent impressions are reducing, to that extent your individuality also will get reduced, because both are connected. The memories or the vasanas, what we call it as the subconscious impressions which we are carrying, is the reason why we are who we are. In fact, all what we think today we are is because we thought we are the body, mind, and intellect. And that is there in the latent impression, or what we call it as vasanas. That is what is to be addressed. And that can be addressed only when you bring this I am doer of the job. That aspect should be the place where it has to start with. You will be still doing all the activities. That doesn't stop, because it is included all the actions: eating, sleeping, bathing, all the actions, plus our day-to-day routine for our bread, butter, and living. All those things will be included in it. While doing that, we will be controlled by our memories. That is called the chitta, from our latent impressions. And when we are dedicating that, that is the time when this will become non-repetitive and producing. When we repeat it, we are cementing it by identifying we are the body, mind, intellect. But when you dedicate it, less cementing take place, and then we get released from that notion that we are the doership, the doer. That is the methodology which Krishna is telling here.
Okay, thank you, Binduji. So, so, so when we are this Shrestha who is doing like, who is the epitome of Karma Yoga or something, so he does all kind of actions. Like I was thinking, because Shrestha would only do he would not indulge in the speculative action kind of thing, and he will only indulge in that principled action. So in that sense I understood, but yeah, it might make sense that he also does all kind of actions and dedicate, so he's able to dedicate those also to the Ishvara or something like that.
Right.
Okay. One more question: Is this like so as the class moves, it looks like some aspects of jnana are also coming into the fold, right? Like for example, uh, the recent one which said uh, aham. Like he takes ownership, the mudha, the definition of mudha, that he takes ownership. And also Krishna is telling na avaptam aptavyam vartayam vacha karmani. So these sound more like a jnana aspect more than a karma yoga aspect. Is that also right understanding? Or
It is showing the effect of Karma Yoga. It is Karma Yoga when it is maturing, you are getting into the Jnana Nishta, no? So these are all showing the Jnana Nishta. See, in the knowledge, path of established in the knowledge, when you perform, that is the time when you say that, there is nothing to be gained in all the three worlds. And yet I perform all my duties, even though there is nothing which is to be gained or nothing which is not gained. That statement, even though it may appear to be a statement from a jnani's point of view, it is the effect of Karma Yoga, what Krishna is addressing to Arjuna. Because what is to be achieved and not achieved to be achieved is purely if you have the individuality ego in your mind when you get on to activities. But even Krishna, when he makes a statement that there is nothing in the three worlds which is not mine, and which is not achieved or not yet be achieved, which has not been achieved. When he says that, it is almost like a falashruti of a karma yogin who has now moved from karma yoga to a jnana nishtha level. So there will be it is not a watertight compartment, but at the same time, there will be the transition which is going from karma yoga to the jnana yoga.
yeah, so that is where I think, like, now this jnana this jnana is different from the other jnana, right? Like told in the second chapter, like
Yeah.
yeah. So
See,
so this jnana is still whatever we call like a karma jnana or a bhakti jnana or upasana jnana. This for this jnana there can be a samuchaya, right? Unlike the other jnana which is told in the second chapter. Do you think that is right understanding?
the jnana samuchaya which Shankaracharya is totally denying is that with which you are totally eradicated of the notion of I. That is the one that can never be achieved by a karma, because that and karma and that cannot go together, because doership and I am not the doership, I am not the doer. How both of them can be together? It can never be together, no? That is why
Yeah,
Krishna,
correct. Yeah.
that is why Krishna, when he says that this jnana nishta, vartayevacha karmani, when he say I am still engaged in action, doesn't mean he's doing karma yoga and jnana together. He has achieved the state of jnani, yet he is doing the actions not from the doership point of view. That is why he were to tell that statement that there is nothing to gained, nothing yet ungained, which I need to work for gaining it. So that statement puts away all that doership idea from the idea mind of the listener. That is why samuchaya aspect can never be between the doer and the doership.
Yeah. So then the fructification of karma yoga is like, according to this shloka, can we say it is like a nullification of desires, or something like a bija dahana, what they talk? Is it similar to that, or where the fructification of karma yoga is leading?
Karma yoga will lead to karma sannyasa, where karma will be done, yet you will be in a sannyasa mood, in the sense that you have renounced the karma for the purpose of the fruits of action. So, your karma sannyasa, or the renunciation of the karma's later half, that is the our desires and fructification, that is not there when you are is in this state of what do you call effect of karma yoga. But the jnana yoga, which is discussed, which will be coming in the 5th and 6th chapter onwards, and will be, is not the same as what it is there in the 3rd and 4th chapter. That has to be, because it is only a purification of action, what is being told in the 3rd and the 4th chapter. It cannot be equated to the knowledge which is there, which has been Sankhya, which has been discussed in chapter 2, where it is said, no, sukadukhe samikritva labha labho jaya jayo na jayate mriyate va kadachit. All those are purely from the realization of the reality. Whereas karma yoga based knowledge which improves is only from the doership point of view, not the nature of the self. That is what the difference. The nature of the self knowledge cannot be achieved through karma. But when you know that you are not a doer, you become a sakshi. But yet the sakshitvam, that you are a witness to the three world, that also will go when you know that there is I am Atma, which Krishna will tell in the 13th chapter.
Okay, Bindu. Yeah. Then the other thing I wanted to ask was, like, the older day classification of a grihastha and a sannyasa ashrama. Now, this karma sannyasa, is it pointing to, at least those days, what it was called as a sannyasa ashrama, and this karma yoga is pointing to kind of a grihastha ashrama? Is that one way to understand, at least for those days, what they were, how it was applied?
See, those days, karma yoga was there even from brahmachari level onwards, because that is how the teacher was giving instruction at the Gurukula. They were made to do all jobs, menial jobs, or all other jobs, cooking, collecting firewood, rearing the cows, and taking them for grass lands for feeding. All these jobs, when they are doing, they have been told to do it is in a karma, ishkarma bhava, so that they do this job not for their benefit. It is just that they are doing it to the seva of the Guru. Then the Guru seva will get replaced when they start Agnihotradi in the Yajna and everything. That is the time when they will replace the Guru's thing with the Devatas. And that, when it matures, is the time when the Grihastha itself, he becomes less interested in the wealth and the progeny and the cows, etc., which otherwise was the beginning of the householder thing, because he felt that he has responsibility for like that also gets reduced, and then he matures himself to go towards vanaprastha, where he is going with his sahadarmani or his wife to a forest which is adjacent to the village, so that he can come for his food to the village, take the alms or begging from one house to another house or to other places, and then go back to retreat to the forest nearby the village to do his penance. And then there will be a time when, he will be really matured himself, that he doesn't realize whether he is in the forest, in the house, or anywhere, because he has abandoned all the differentiation from the empirical point of view. That is the time when he becomes a jnani. And such jnanis, they will sometimes will be moving within the society. Sometimes they will be going to from one kingdom to another kingdom. The kings, when they know, they will be inviting them for giving advice and, lectures on the jnana, etc. So that is a time when these things, whether they are taking their wife along with them or not, is not important. That is why Yajnavalkya, when you look at it, till the end he was with his wife and family only, even though he was teaching Janaka all those details fully, right? So
Yeah.
you have to see from those days' point of view, it is totally the Karma Yoga was not a action or a thing which is given only to the Grihasthas. Right from the Brahmachari onwards, it is there instilled in the people.
Yeah. And then one more, this leads to one more question. Like, I can see that Karma Yoga is creating kind of a Viveka and Vairagya in the person, right? Now in the other Sampatti, like Shat Sampatti, there is no injunction to cultivate such a thing. Will that be automatically cultivated? I guess there are some thing that is going to come up in Gita also, right, regarding that. So I'm actually waiting. So, but for now, I can see it is addressing the Viveka, Vairagya kind of aspects, right?
Yeah, this is for Vairagya only. Viveka first. Only when the Viveka is, Atma Anatma Viveka, when it happens, then only the Vairagya towards Anatma will happen. Otherwise, Anatma will be the non-self, or the empirical world will be still an attraction.
So the inverted mechanism is still continuing. So even in Karma Yoga, first seemingly the more high level things are first discussed and more details are coming later on, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
Hand raising and chat are open. If anyone wants to come up, please do. In the meantime, Bindoji, I have a question. This is about the two words or two aspects you addressed in another session, which is you talked about Chitta Shuddhi and Tattva Shuddhi. The Chitta Shuddhi and the Tattva Shuddhi. Can you
Sattva Shuddhi, not Tattva
Sattva
Shuddhi.
Sattva
Yes.
Shuddhi? Okay.
Yes.
Can you address that, Bindoji?
See, Chitta, as the word indicates, it is the storehouse of our latent impressions, memories, everything with which we depend upon to, to behave as what we are now, related to the body, mind, intellect. We don't have the knowledge, or we don't experience that we are the self in our empirical transaction. Even though we have heard all the Upanishad and we have done the Shravana Manana, the Nididhyasana aspect, which is required for the conviction to take place that we are not the body, mind, and intellect, has not yet matured. This is the reason why is mainly because of two reasons. One is that the strength of manana is not enough. But the other thing which is along with this is our reinforcing that we are the body, mind, intellect in our actions. Manana alone is not sufficient enough for us to get into a proper nididhyasana benefit, we will also need to do this karma yoga aspect, whereby the reinforcing that we are the doer of our actions. It includes all actions, which I was telling Srini, eating, sleeping, for bread, butter, and all those things were livinghood. All actions which we doing today, we are doing with the chitta, which is telling us we are the body, mind, intellect. So when we do this as a karma yoga, yoga yajnartham, when we do this as I am, this Krishna will be telling later in this in Gita, do it as you are an instrument for the Lord. You are mere an instrument for the Lord and perform actions according to that. Nimitta matram bhava sabya sajin. When he says that, is the way in which our day-to-day actions also we can surrender it as yajna, or for the yajnartha means for the purpose of the yajna. That is why karma yoga becomes really fruitful. And when that is being done, we should also continue our manana. So one side we are trying to reduce our affirmation onto the body, mind, intellect. At the same time, the intellect and the mind need to be freed from, while actions are taken care by the doership aspect of it, by doing the yajna. But the mind and intellect need to be educated. First, one is uneducating us that we are the body, mind, intellect. At the same time, we need to educate our mind and intellect that we are the self, and the nature of the self, it's Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma or Sachidanandam Brahma. All those things will have to come from Manana. So these two dual aspects, when we are doing together, is the time when the Chitta Shuddhi. Shuddhi means cleansing. So Chitta Shuddhi means cleansing the memory bank from latent impressions and identification to the body, mind, intellect. That is the Chitta Shuddhi. Now, whereas the Sattva Shuddhi, which is being talked about, is not the cleansing of the impressions of the all those in our memory, but that is Sattva Shuddhi is bringing our actions to a more serene type of activity rather than agitated, aggressive, or dull and inertia ridden actions. It has to start with the type of food we are eating, the type of cleanliness we are maintaining in our day-to-day life, the place where we live, the people whom which we are engaging and interacting with. All those things are the ones which will bring a serenity in our life by reducing the inertia based or the action based, agitation based activities from our life. When we do move away from that, that is what is called cleansing of the sattva aspect. Sattva means sat, chit, no, sat, sattva, rajas, tamas. The three qualities are there. No, all actions are. That is why guna guneshu vartante, when it is said, all those things are due to the prakriti, the sense organs and the sense objects. Now, what we are doing in the ahara shuddhi, or the food means it is not the food what we eat through mouth. Every feeding into our sense organ is an ahara, whether it is vision, sound, etc. All of them. So ahara suddhau sattva shuddhi. That by doing that, we are cleansing our sense organs to be looking for more serene and tranquil and equipoised way of living. And in our actions and our interactions, we will have to bring in yama niyama, all the shat sambati things, so that we move from a Rajasic and Tamasic life to a Sattva life. So as we improve upon our serenity in our life, we are bringing the Sattva Shuddhi. So these two are the two words which I used. One is for Chitta Shuddhi, which is the latent impression, whereas this is our current activities which will not generate impressions from our Rajasic and Tamasic activities. So these two are the two different words which I used in that explanation.
Yes, thank you very much, Mendoji. That was a deep interpretation of that sattva and the ahara, or the what we consume, right, in any form, right.
Right.
So the other question I had was in yesterday's class. You were towards the end. You were talking about the adhikara anushwara upadesha, right?
Mm.
In that you brought in this thing about compassion instead of condemnation, and I, I think can you explain, can you give a little bit more insight into that aspect, Binduji? Because it was towards the end of the class, and it just I don't
Mm.
think you gave it enough time.
See, that is this karuna aspect or a compassion aspect born out of wisdom is the one which is to be understood properly. It is not due to any feeling which as a reaction we develop towards others. It is basically coming from a level of knowledge that we are all the same. When we are saying that we are all the same, I am not talking about the physical body or the wealth or the living or etc. In essence, the essence of Bindu and the essence of Prakash cannot be two. Even though we may be thousands of miles apart, physically different persons, living in different conditions, all those things. But in essence, the life which is pulsating in me and the life pulsating in you cannot be different, because everything which is this in this thing has come from the same source, and that source being the same cannot produce different things when they appearing as different things. That is why in Chandogya Upanishad we gave that example of mud and different products made of mud, or the gold and different ornaments which is being made. These examples are only to bring in the idea that we are that aspect of unity in the apparent diversity which we see in the world today. That has to be the approach for not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of the society or the world at large. But if you are bringing any sort of differentiation in it, then that will be detrimental not only for the others, but it is equally harming yourself also. But not many people will understand that, because the selfishness, the ego, and these aspects are the result of the ignorance of this unity not being known. Therefore, those selfishness, ego, etc., will tell you a different set of values altogether. That is the reason why the instruction is based on the adhikari. Now, people who cannot understand that the unity of the source from where every creation has come, to them, to talk about that, they will not be able to understand. They will say, how can it be? Even though my father and mother is the same. These are questions which people have asked me. Even though mother and father is saying, I am different from my brother is like this, I am like this. So how can you say, even though it is from the same mother and father, we are born together, the people are different? Now that is why I said physically you are different in a different place, location, thousands of miles apart from me. What I am talking about is the life pulsating, is that. And if that is not there, neither you will be there nor I will be there. So what is the reason why you are there, I am there, is because that life which is pulsating. This aspect will not be able to be appreciated by many people. They still see the outer, external differentiations in the world. Therefore, their eligibility of knowledge is in the Karma Yoga. They have to start from there. But for persons who have moved far away from them, they will be demonstrating a love and compassion, a fragrance which I was talking about. That is because they have seen the unity or the oneness in all. And that, when it is being done, is the reason why others will feel that he is behaving due to compassion. Actually, it is not compassion. He is seeing the oneness. But for the other person who doesn't understand it, for him, it will feel as if the person who is with the oneness, when he behaves with compassion. He does. So the word with compassion, you need necessarily to accept the other person is eligible for your compassion. But from a jnani's point of view, there is no such differentiation. But since he is seeing the oneness, the natural behavior itself becomes a expression of compassion. That is why the difference between these two is what I said, the eligibility of the two different people.
Thank you very much, Bindoji. Since there's nobody here, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
This yesterday you used a beautiful phrase when describing the adhikaris, a level of appreciation of this unity, right, or the oneness. But you used a term which was, you said the description of the reality is limited by their epistemic conditioning. Can you elaborate on that, Bindoji?
Yeah, that is basically the epistemic condition, is that based on the mental maturity differentiation which we see among people. Some of them will be having all textual knowledge. Krishna himself spoke about it, no? Such people, about that people. What is called Veda Vidara Manye. So those are people who think that they know everything in the Veda, but their behavior will be not demonstrating anything what is told in the Veda, but they will be able to repeat it like a parrot. And their actions will be full of selfishness, ego, etc. So, epistemically, if you look at it, the teaching has gone to everyone, but that has not become their, what you call, assimilation. They have not assimilated to bring in a difference in their behavior. If those people who bring in a differentiation, they are living what they have learned. So that is why that differentiation which we see in the world from these two angles, we have to understand how to measure is a big problem for all of us. We cannot measure it just because somebody is able to explain it, talk about it, or quote from here and there. It has to come in the interaction with the world, how such a person interacts. Some of them will go into a recluse state where they are totally disinterested in interacting with the world. But then there are other people like Janaka and Sri Krishna, and who are in the thick and thin of the world with the knowledge which is established in them in their knowing fully well what they are. So whom do we follow? That becomes a big issue for us, no? So that is why each one is in a path of his own, because the body through which we are functioning is not what we are. The body with which we are functioning will exhibit what the body is supposed to exhibit. But what body is exhibiting is not what the sakshi in the body will be, expecting to behave. There the sakshi is just a mere sakshi only. The body will function according to the circumstances of the body. So people will have a tendency that, oh, that a person, he is talking like this, but behaving not according to the Shastra or as per the instruction of the book or the Vedas. But whether he is established or not, that only he can tell. So that is why it is very difficult to know anybody whether he is a jnani or not. A jnani and a jnani will look exactly the same. They may behave the same way, but where the difference will make is that when challenges in life come, whether tasya prajna pratishtita, whether his nature or his being is established in knowledge or not, will be known at that time. The person who is not established will be shattered, he will be miserable, he will go through all the agony. The other person, the similar problems will come, but he will take it with equanimous, but his body will be going through the pain or the disease or whatever may be there in that case. He will not be shattered by that. That is the only way in which we can make some judge or some assumptions about whether he is established or not.
Thank you very much, Bindoji. We have another half an hour or so time, so there's more members in the audience. So if any one of you want to come up, as usual, Bindoji reminds us no question is to be hidden. Any question has to be clarified. So if you have any questions, please come up. And I have benefited a lot from the in-depth insights that you provided, Bindoji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste, Venkat.
Binduji. Binduji, this is sort of maybe you can take it as a sidebar question to Bhagavad Gita, where we covered so far. It has been a fantastic progress from a, I've never studied Bhagavad Gita versus this first time I've been studying with you. You are guiding through this. Um,
Okay.
this whole the Chit Jada Granthi
Hmm.
between that that which is binding versus that which completely takes out that that path of yoga to path of gnana, a simple that binding, it imposes as good as real I'm this, I'm body, versus that same mechanism uh, get dissolved. uh, why such that contraction happening, that aham contraction is happening, um, makes it so real in one sense for a yogi versus that entire mechanism get dismantled. Uh, this is like a Why it is so like this?
See, the reason with which why it is happening is something anirvachaniya. That is all we can say. Why it is happening is we call it as avidya or maya. But that is something which has got the beginning is unknown, but it has definitely an end. Like all ignorance, the Chittara Granthi is not there actually speaking, because there is no Chit and Jada as two separate things. But it is there only as long as you accept it is there. And that that is part of the avidya, that there is a Jada and there is Chitta, separate two Chit, which is two separate, not Chitta. So the two are not separate, because cannot be two when we are talking about Advaita. Yet, in the state of ignorance, the two is very much there. I am there, my body is there. But at the same time, when I'm saying that I am there, my body is there, even though I am using the word my body, my understanding and all my actions and all my thoughts, everything is assuming that I am the body, even though I call it as my body. This one way of telling that I am, and my body is as an expression. At the same time, I am the body, and in which I am expressing all my actions and thoughts. This is what is called actually the bondage between the inert body and the consciousness, which is the pulsating life in us. Now, why this mix up takes place? The mix up is really not there. In fact, all what is there is only consciousness. But the body as an inert material is appearing in consciousness, which we do not know, and therefore we call it as a body. That is, the existence consciousness is in which the body is also supported. If it is not there, the body has no existence at all. Yet we consider the body as inert and different from us. So confusion happens is because we are not educated, or we are not have got the right knowledge about it. That is where the teaching comes us to differentiate. First, it will tell to differentiate between what is Atma and Anatma. This Atma, Anatma means Atma is the self, and what is non-self, which includes the body, mind, intellect, and the world, phenomenal world, whole. This thing is Anatma. Why it is being taught like that? Because when you do that, you will be able to concentrate more towards our Atma side, for which we use either the Jagrat Swapna Sushupti analysis, or we can use the Neti Neti, that is what is object and what is the subject. So all any methods, there are many methods which are being given in the scriptures. By using, we are negating what was produced as a byproduct of ignorance. So when I am saying Neti, I am actually saying not this to the Brahman only. How can there be something other than Brahman? It is not possible. So if I am saying I am not this, I am saying this because that this which I am negating in my knowledge is inert and phenomenal world. But that phenomenal world is not different from Brahman, will know only when I know myself. My true nature, when I know, that is the time I really realize that there is nothing other than me. Yatra nanyat pashyati anyat shrunoti anyat vijanati. That experience will become ours. Same way, the Jagrat Swapna Sushupti. Let's just look at into the analysis of that. The waker, the dreamer, the deep sleeper. All the three are experiences from our point of view. Waking experience, dream experiences, and deep sleep experiences. But when I am saying that I am neither the waker, nor the dreamer, nor the deep sleeper, but I am the knower of the three, Ebhyo Vilakshana Sachi Chinmatroham, that I am the consciousness which is knowing all the three, I am negating what is appearing as a waker in the consciousness of the same entity, which is now negating it. The Sakshi is the consciousness, and it is the Sakshi in which the waking appeared, the dream appeared, the deep sleep appeared. So, what I am negating, in reality, I am negating the same consciousness, but what I negate is the feeling or the knowledge that it is separate from consciousness is what I am negating through the process. When that negation is taking place, you cannot really negate a thing which is there in reality. You can negate only what is appearing or what is not real. A thing which is real can never be negated. So, in the waking, what we are negating is the name and the form of the phenomenal world, including the body, mind, and intellect. The name and form, when we negate it, the substratum, which is the consciousness and this existence, for every atom on the experience of the phenomenal world, that we cannot negate it, but it doesn't have a name and form. So the negation is to remove the ignorance aspect, and that is what is called the Chidjada Grandhi Mochana, breaking away from the bondage of the inert and the consciousness. Inert. So the inertness, there is nothing called inert. In consciousness, there can never be an inertness or anything inert. What is we are negating is that the feeling there is something inert in the consciousness other than consciousness is what is getting negated. So when we know that Chitjara Grandhi or the yogi's method or a jnani's method, the ignorance aspect is what is being addressed and not the thing. There we negate the names and forms. Once you are successful in that, then there won't be any questions further on that.
This is perfect, Bendoji. I think the net summary is that it is the knowledge that is getting modified in a way, corrected. That's a way to put it, maybe.
Yes, corrected.
So the knowledge getting corrected, while there is this knowledge causing the locus shift from sakshi to that which we call it as phenomenal formation, that guna. There is a word used in Bhagavad Gita, right? Guna guneshu vartante. In that phenomenon, that causality is seen in that guna modifications, where the locus shift happening into the aham part of it, versus the knowledge now takes it away to back to sakshi. Either locus shift, either are we denying the local shift, the locus shift itself, is the knowledge causing the correcting the knowledge causing the locus shift. What is happening here?
See, what is happening is that there is no shift to take place because you cannot shift a space from one place to another place. There is everything everywhere, it's a space. Same way, everything is knowledge or consciousness. So, what is the shift taking place is in the from the ignorant standpoint to the knowledge standpoint. The ignorance is the absence of knowledge, not that it is a separate thing. Jnana abhava. It is that ignorance is not a positive entity. It is the absence of knowledge, and from that, but we gave it a positive feeling that it is separately available. See, there is a deep, what you call, argument between the Nyaya and those who talk about the Nyaya Vaisheshika and those who are on the Advaitin side. The example of the absence of the pot on a surface. The absence of a pot on a surface. If the Nyaya fellow will say, "Are you? I am keeping a pot here. Now I am removing the pot. So when I am removing the pot, are you not experiencing the absence of the pot?" The Nyaya fellow will ask the Advaitin. The Advaitin say, "Yes, I am knowing the absence of the pot." That means the pot absence is a positive entity because of which you are experiencing the absence of the pot. The Advaitin say, it cannot be a positive thing. The absence means it is a negative thing. It is not a positive entity. It's a negative thing. What I am experiencing as the absence of the pot is the substratum where I don't see a pot. I am not seeing the pot absence. I am seeing the substratum or the tabletop where that pot is not there now. I cannot call it as a absence of the pot. No, but again the argument between these two people keep on going like that. The thing is that the abhava, the absence of a entity, is positive as per the Nayayika, and it is not the entity. It is a positive entity as per the Advaitin, but he says that adhikarana matram. It is the substratum in which. Now, in this case, in the space, you remove the pot. Let us assume that there is no place where you kept the pot. You had kept the pot in the space, and from the space you removed the pot. This is the question will be asked. So will the pot absence be known from the space? What is your answer, Venkat?
Like a Dvesuparna, the two birds on a tree, one watching and the other one is eating. Right? There is a knowing principle that is watching, and the one which is eating, the other bird. It is similar situation here. The space is a knowing space, and the pot is that which is, the other bird which is having, experiencing the world. So a pot is just an appearance, and this bird which is having an experience in that manifested world is like a pot, right? Which is appearance and appear to enjoy the fruits of the world, or either eating bad or good fruit. The other one is simply watcher. So this is a net configuration, right, Banerjee?
Yeah, see, the thing is that configuration, it will be difficult for those who are listening to understand that. That is why the example of the table and the pot on the table, when the pot is removed, the table is what is remaining. But without the table, the pot would not have existed in the first place itself. So what is seen as the absence of the pot is being experienced is the substratum, the table. Now the same thing with the, instead of the table, you use it as a space. The space is there. When the pot is removed, the pot cannot be removed from the space any point of view. It will be still in some space. There is no way a pot is absence also is felt without the space. The presence or the absence of the pot both depends upon the space. So Advaiti says that all the time what is there is that consciousness or the like the space, it is that knowledge what is there, consciousness what is there. In the consciousness what you know with the name and form becomes phenomenal. But the phenomenal world doesn't have an independent existence. It is only depending upon the name and form. Vacharambanam vigaro namadaya. That is what the reason why it is being told. So this is the very fundamental thing which Advaitins are telling the people who are arguing for the sake of duality. The duality cannot exist independently. We are not denying duality. Namarupa is right, but the Namarupa cannot independently existing other than the consciousness in which it is existing.
Sure, Manoj. I think this is, I'm not talking about this at all, the duality at all. Just try, my question still remain, the locus shift.
So where will you locus? Where will you shift your locus? That's my question.
Is the
You
knowledge
can
causing the locus shift is the fundamental question.
see, Venkat, you are asking the locus shift. To shift, you need, how will you shift a space from one space to another place? By I am moving a pot from one tabletop to another tabletop. Do you mean to say the space of the space of the pot has moved along with the pot?
Now, the better example is the knowing, which is, principle versus a knowing body. Is a shift.
See, that is the knowing principle cannot shift. You may say there is a body. Now I am knowing through the body. That is the two aspects we are saying. But the knowing cannot be two. There is only one knowing. So what is shifting is only the dependency of knowing you are now using with the body and the one without the body.
Like this, Binduji. The dream is on. Like dream character is sort of started off. You know that you are dreaming, yet there is a spin-off of a character, chased by a tiger, right? Unless you wake up from that situation, and then there is a dream. Till then, that shift happened into that character. That I call it as a locus shift. Okay, how this sort of shift now upon waking up, know it, that shift, right? Oh, I'm dreaming. That shift itself is I'm trying to examine what is causing this shift. Is a knowledge, is it a ignorance causing shift? What is it? That's how I'm framing the question.
Okay, your question is standing from the point of view of a waker, you are asking this question. Because the waker has differentiated between waking, dream, and deep sleep. It is the nomenclature created by the waker that what he calls it as a waking is different from what he is calling it as a dream. Now, when you look at it as knowledge or experiencing expression of experiencing, is there any difference between the experiencing aspect in the two states, different between waking and dream? The parameters of what you call the content, the objects in both the things, you are saying that there is a difference. One is subtle, you say, and one is gross, you say, because it is tangibility. But you never lost the tangibility when you were in dream, when you were a dreamer. It was as good as same as a waker. So when you saying that anything happened in waking dream made you wake up into the waker state, or is there any shift in the knowing principle? How can there be a shift? The conditions are changing, but the knowing cannot be changing. Will you say that the knowing in the dream was different? May the knowing in waking is different? Do you make a difference between the two?
No misunderstanding on the knowing principle, Binduji.
Yes,
Absolutely.
you're right.
I'm just checking out.
And that no, that is the only thing which is there. The rest of the things are imaginary. That's what I'm saying. Whether you call it as waking or dream, other than knowing, everything else is imaginary.
Okay. So this power of imagination
Yes.
itself
Hmm.
causing a shift.
What do you mean by shift? Let me get
Shift
the
is,
idea first.
it is like operating a character. It is like you're wearing a glass, or
Hmm.
you're in a 5D simulation. So you were wearing a glass and playing a video game
Hmm.
of a character, but you know it that you're playing the game. So this shift is either attention-led shift for the character to play the character, while the knowing is up. So this moment of that attention causing this different levels of, as a knowing. The knowing is constant, it's a principle. Yet utilization of this principle in the operational world, is that is what is going on. I'm trying to just put a description to it. Is that the same thing that upon realizing you know it, that there's a knowing principle, yet operational characters, is attention causing a shift between each of these levels? I'm
What you
just
call as attention is what? Nothing but knowing. Attention is nothing but knowing, no?
So there are two levels of consciousness. One is a lantern consciousness, and I call it a spotlight consciousness. The lantern is pure knowing, and spotlight is the same modification that been put on a character. Hence, that character come alive, and the play goes on. That's how I'm characterizing. This shift is unknown before,
That
and
is
now that.
because the dependency is on the instrument in which you are measuring the light of two different sources, the lantern and the spotlight. From the light point of view, both are capable of showing the character. But when we depend upon our instrument, the sense organ, we make a differentiation between the quality of the light of the lantern to the quality of the light of the spotlight. But light, from the point of view, light and the character, both have got the same, the conditions are the same in both the conditions, whether it is lantern or spotlight. Due to our instrument limitation, lantern may not be as focused as that of a spotlight. So we call it as different from our experiential point of view. But from the light point of view, both are capable of enlightening that object, which we call it as a character, isn't it?
That's perfect. See, there is an aspect of light which is simply illumination, right?
Yes.
The illumination is is something, and there is a you know reflection, right? In illumination, never be known unless anything that captures a reflection. So knowing arises due to reflection. There's illumination which is simply there, and reflection, maybe chit, sat and chit, whatever, whichever the way you want to put it. The knowing is based on the quality of instrument, different levels. Hence, further, functional consciousness can be characterized as an operating character versus simply knowing, to functional, instrument like leg or hand or anything. That's the same. But the point is that there is there are aspects that are coming to play. The knowledge is in the domain of knowing, which is knowledge which is based on the instrument. And knowledge can vary that at a mind level versus pure knowing principle, etc.
That's basically you are telling like that. I
Yeah,
am seeing Venkat in my waking, and I am seeing Venkat in my dream. So you are comparing between the Venkat in the dream to Venkat in the waking. Are you comparing like that?
I'm not, Amidoji. I'm just trying to measure this shift itself. Different ways. I'm trying to figure it out. Where is this shift of the locus? Either attention led. What is causing this shift? The character versus knowing. I'm just analyzing it. That's all, Amidoji.
No, because I am still not able to understand your question into exactly the way in which you are asking that. Because where should I be focusing my attention to to grasp your question is what I am still
So no attention,
dabbling
no,
with it.
yeah, no attention. There's no shift. No attention. Say pure knowing, no attention in it. The moment attention arises, then the shift happens. This is my observation. The shift happens to the character, either in the dream or waking. Because of attention, the shift of locus happens. This is my observation, Vinoji. That is why my
So,
question arises.
so basically, you are saying that a contentless knowing versus a content knowing. Are you talking about these two things?
Yeah, you can take it that way.
There is, in my opinion, there is no difference in both the cases. The content is now being assumed to be independent of knowing. But how can it be know that content remain independent of knowing, yet you accept that the content is present? Can it ever be outside the knowledge?
No, there's
It
nothing
cannot
like
be
that.
out.
It
Yeah,
never.
nothing like that. So whether your content has come in within the focus or it was not there in the focus doesn't make the object something special. It is the limitation of our instrument, because the content when became noticed by us, attention, what you said mentioned as attention, when you noticed is the duration of the instrument in contact with the content. The other time, whether the content was there or not, our instrument was not in contact with that. So you say that there is a knowing without the content. The only the but that content, whether it was existing or not existing, until it comes into the attention part of it, is what makes it dependent on the instrument. But without the instrument, you can never know whether the content of is existing or not. That is why the knowledge is the reason why we attribute that the presence of a thing or not. There, for that purpose, we are dependent upon the sense organs. And when we are sense organs is not in a position to focus on the content, we say the content is somewhere else, but it is I'm not able to see it. But but it is never outside your knowledge. Even when you say it is somewhere else, but I'm not able to see it or focus on it, doesn't make it outside the what you call the field of knowledge. So where the shift is there is due to the shift of the instrument of focusing, not due to the knowledge.
Then I just have a final question. Is attention primordial or belong to guna?
Attention is basically a function of the antakarana. The inner instrument is where the attention takes place. It can be in dream or it can be in waking.
Yeah, we may need to look through this little more deeply in terms of attention. Is that primordial or that knowing itself?
Yes. Attention is never primordial. Knowledge is primordial.
Then how do
Attention is function of the knowledge through the antakarana.
this content, right? You know, what we talk about, anything which is appearing as a content of consciousness, how do we even know there is a content? Without attention, you will never ever know there is any content at all.
Yeah, agreed. The moment the content in the attention comes, whether it is in dream or waking or whatever it is only from the mind intellect aspect what you call it as attention. It is connection between the antakarana and the object what you call as attention. But that is not primordial. Primordial is where the whole picture or the whole what you call space in which it is appearing before attention and during attention and later is what we call it as the consciousness or awareness or knowledge. When it is getting focused through the inner instrument of mind and intellect, we call it as attention. When it is not in the mind and intellect thing, the content of the attention is still within the knowledge ambience, but not for the individual to apprehend it.
We will contemplate more on this.
Yes,
Thank you.
Venkat. Thank you, Venkat. Srini, you want to say something?
Yes,
Oh,
Srini,
yes, God.
so
Oh, yes.
he's back. We can't hear you, Srini. We're hearing some scratchy noise, but we can't hear you if you're talking. So Bindoji, following Venkatji's question,
Hello,
so the
am I
yeah,
Yeah,
audible?
when
yes, you're
yes,
audible. Go
yes,
ahead. Go
Rin.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick question. About you gave that example of pot and the debate between Nayayikas and Advaitins, right, Bindaji? So
Mm.
so do you think, because I heard these kind of arguments also where people say that you experience silence because the word silence itself stimulates within you, so they're making that kind. So do you think it's a Nayayika position that to experience silence the word silence plays a role or something? I felt that pot example they are indirectly saying that kind of, but whereas I don't think Advaitin position will be something to experience silence. There is no contribution of the word silence, or however whichever language you say it, right? So is it
Yeah,
similar to,
see, the silence is a term which is used the absence of sound. The absence of sound is not necessarily what we can say that as a positive thing of called silence. Like, the absence of the pot is a positive thing. Same way, the silence is not a positive thing, and words are different positive things. Both are bhava. That is not what Advaitins will accept.
but Nayayikas might be saying that silence is like a positive thing or something like that,
Yes,
right? Okay. That's what. Thank you, Binduji.
yes, Prakash, you were saying something.
No, when Venkatji brought up this topic about attention,
Mm.
so you said the right knowledge is the primordial state, right?
Yes.
So in the practice of Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, the fruit of that effort is the capacity to hold that right kind of knowledge or the knowledge, right? Giving rise to the right attention. Is that correct, Bindoji?
Nididhyasana will eliminate the dependency on the mind and the intellect for the knowledge.
Okay, that's a very clear difference. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash.
So it is 10:34.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we have
we can.
crossed the time. So thank you
Yeah,
everyone for coming. Very deep discussion. So please listen to the replays. If you came a little bit later, because the topic was going deep into, if you want to call it, the architecture of how Advaita is taught, basically. Because Bindoji has, through his clear demonstration of language and the view arising from it, has in this class demonstrated the skill of how one can pass on this knowledge and how this is. So it's a very beautiful session. So as always, a heartfelt thanks to Bindoji and for everyone on the stage who came and asked these brilliant questions. And also thanks to Artemisia as one of the founding members of this club to show up and voice her views earlier. And for everyone who have attended, thank you. And tomorrow we will meet again at 8:30 p.m. IST, where we will continue on chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. And Bindoji will guide us there. Over to you, Bindoji,
thank
to
you.
close the room.
Thank you, thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Artemisia. Thank you, Srini and Venkat, for asking the questions, and all of you for listening patiently. See you all tomorrow with the Bhagavad Gita class. Hari Om. Good night.